I'm back, baby! Debubbled, not sick, and ready to talk all things Steven Universe. So imagine my dismay when I get a filler episode. But is there more to week 2 of Steven Universe Future than meets the eye? I'm Kris Carr, and today I'm talking to you about Steven Universe Future's episodes Bluebird and a very special episode. Before we dive in, let's do some shout-outs. First, to my girl VL for kicking ass with last week's video. If you're behind on Steven Universe Future, give that video a watch. A big ol' thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon, too. Thanks to these heroes, we get to keep giving you guys hot and fresh Steven Universe content. Head to our Patreon page to see if a donation tier works for you. We'll reward you handsomely in return. And if you want to skip the donations and go straight to the merch, click that affiliate link to TeePublic. They've got awesome tees for you to check out. I basically live in my Watermelon Steven shirt. On to the show. If I'm being completely honest, this week's episode felt like filler, which is a little disappointing to see 2 weeks into the show. Some folks may be into this more lighthearted fare, though. After all, Steven Universe initially began as a goofy, lighthearted show, and then things got more serious, more sweeping space epic, which is why it's one of the best shows to come out in the last 10 years. But hey, I hear ya if every now and then you want a sweet one-off wacky shenanigans episode. It is fun to see Steven, who used to love wacky shenanigans, a bit more exasperated with them. He's older. He can drive. He's got a lot of feelings. And he's turning pink when he's overly emotional. Ugh, don't you hate it when you act like your mom? I suppose after the debut of the series and learning that Pink was physically abusive to her first pearl, Volleyball, we could use a palate cleanser. So with that in mind, let's talk about this episode. Bluebird focuses on 2 former homeworld enemies, Eyeball and Aquamarine. As a quick refresher, Eyeball is an IF4 cut 4ND Ruby who, when we last saw her, had run off with Aquamarine and the two were plotting their revenge against our hero Steven. Aquamarine was a little snot in her Steven Universe episodes, and she's a little snot in Steven Universe Future.
I'm sorry, Steven. Accept my apology. Gotcha!
So these 2 foes fused to form Bluebird. I'm personally not a fan of this fusion's design, especially compared to the rad fusions we've been seeing lately. The following episode, a very special episode, featured Rainbow Quartz 2.0 and Sunstone, which are fantastic designs, and seeing them further soured me on this Bluebird character. Bluebird claims to want to join Little Homeschool, which Steven finds incredibly suspicious, but the crystal gems press him to be welcoming to the fusion and remind him that all gems should be given the opportunity to change. But this fusion is out for revenge.
Now they've come to Earth for their revenge. And forever shall he rue the names
Aquamarine
and Ruby.
Honestly, this was a plot that was executed way more effectively in the Steven Universe movie. Here, these hijinks aren't particularly interesting. It's like watching Butters be Professor Chaos in Switchin' Soups. Oh, she switches his juice with tomato soup. She gives him food she knows he'll hate. She draws on his face when he's sleeping. Which, admit it, we've all done at a party. Your shoes are on, Petey. You're getting a peen on your forehead. Them's the rules. Then things take a crazy serious turn when the pranks go from 0 to 60, and it looks like this fusion could possibly murder Greg.
Are those screams of fun? No!
I know, Greg. Greg, your hair! Mr. Universe's hair is intrinsically tied to who he is, so to see him in a situation where he's forced to cut it was a jaw-dropping moment for diehard fans. We were all Steven's anime pump-up rage when he shouted, "I won't let you get away with this!" How dare this episode show Greg lovingly brushing his hair at the beginning just to have it taken away? I'm hoping we get a lot more Greg in Steven Universe Future. He sort of got pushed to the sidelines in OGSU, and that was a real shame. He's such a fun character with a lot of great insight into Rose, Steven, and really helps ground things. R.I.P. those luscious locks, you rock god with a dad bod. What I am a huge fan of in this episode is that it takes one of the show's biggest criticisms and explores it. Love is always the answer? That's sweet, but it's a little naive. And you know what? Sometimes people just aren't going to like you. Like we established with Change Your Mind, you don't need people to like you or agree with you or your lifestyle. But it sure is nice. In Bluebird, we see 2 characters fueled by their hatred of Steven, and they're not gonna let it go. Love and friendship being the answer to all of life's problems has been a point of contention with some critics. It feels simple. And yeah, it's a little naive to believe you'll be pretty much friends with everyone post-intergalactic battle that spanned a millennia. Everyone ended up chummy for the most part. Even Jasper seems to at least respect Steven. So having two characters that loathe Steven lets us see, yeah, not everyone is gonna move on. Not everyone wants to change their mind. Sometimes love isn't gonna cut it, and you'll just remain staunchly opposed to one another. Bluebird is one of the sketchy gems featured in the opening sequence of Steven Universe Future, so we can anticipate seeing a lot more of them as the series continues. Next, we have a very special episode. A very special episode is a term used to describe episodes of television that tackle difficult or controversial social issues. This notion peaked in the 1980s when all your sitcom favorites featured an episode with some new side character menacingly holding a jazz cigarette or telling our heroes to drink to be cool. So with that title, I think a lot of us were expecting a very heavy episode, when in fact, we basically got a long PSA and Dove commercial. I mean, look at Sunstone's set. That's the set from the Dove self-esteem PSAs. And guys, Sugar has said it herself. Those commercials are canon. That's why we know things like Stevani being intersex. In this episode, after a typically sitcom situation of needing to be in two places at once and overextending yourself, our big takeaway is that it's okay to say no and to take time for yourself. We learned a lot in this episode. Not only that we shouldn't spread ourselves too thin, but about the evils of motion smoothing and the importance of helmets. Sunstone is a total 80s-90s trope, so this whole lessons learned angle really works for this character. If you jump on Reddit, this seems to be an incredibly polarizing episode for fans. They love it, or they hate it. And I can understand both camps. Prior to the PSA reveal, the episode certainly feels off. All of our characters are acting, well, out of character. Particularly Garnet, who is incredibly morbid in this one, talking about all the various ways gems die in multiple timelines.
Earth Beetle. There's a future where you fall into the garbage disposal and nobody notices until it's too late.
We do get some fantastic fourth wall breaking moments, and not just from Sunstone, but probably my favorite comes from Amethyst, saying how she hasn't seen Steven in like 11 minutes, the runtime of the episodes.
I just miss you, man. I haven't seen you for like 11 minutes.
What I'm left wondering is anything in this episode real? Did anything happen? Steven Universe is notorious for calling back the tiniest detail and not really having filler episodes. So what here was important? Is that snake gonna end up being the big-ass monster we see in the opening credits or something insane like that?
Steven, there's a snake!
Never mind!
It appears that Sunstone's powers also have a Deadpool-esque ability to break the fourth wall and create alternate timelines. Perhaps all this talk of alternate timelines will come into play, and Sunstone is our key to a large multiverse story. We also see fusions happen much more quickly now, with a lot less dancing prep and build-up. I wonder if that's a choice the show has made for the sake of time, or if this is indicative of the crystal gem's growing powers and continually growing bond. Regardless of my speculation, we aren't sure of anything actually occurring in this one. I mean, other than Onion having a bag of what is most definitely Greg's hair. It has to be!
Wow, Onion, that's a beautiful bag of hair. Whose is it?
Onion, you're a little freak. What are you? Why hasn't this dude aged whatsoever? Honestly, I thought maybe he was just, like, short, but needing a babysitter establishes him at a set young age. And if I'm being completely honest, you guys, I really would have liked more Onion. I was dying over the horror story that was playing out as Pearl attempted to babysit that guy. From his casual ransom letters to his condiment graffiti, Onion really delivered in this one. Rebecca Sugar has said Onion is going to remain a mystery for now, and it's killing me. I want a full-on Onion investigation. Give me your theories on him, you guys. Next week, we'll have Snow Day and Why So Blue Air. Snow Day will have Steven and the Crystal Gems stuck in the house when they're snowed in, giving them a chance to catch up. And Why So Blue sounds to be a Lapis-heavy episode. Steven has heard rumors of a pair of gems still destroying worlds, and Lapis seems to be the only one who can stop them. This leads me to believe that sinister pair of Lapis Lazuli in the opening sequence are going to be our baddies. I'm excited to see Lapis get a chance to shine. Let me know what you think we can expect. How did you feel about these episodes this week? Did you think they were fun? Did you think they were filler? Hit me up in the comments with your hot takes. Thanks again to all of our sponsors on Patreon, TeePublic, and all of you viewers. If you'd like to help us out, why don't you subscribe and hit that bell? If you'd like more Steven Universe videos, click to the left. Thanks for watching. See you, Space Cowboy.